Well, hello again. Back to the Widow's Kitchen, and thank you for tuning in, as they say. Today, I'm going to be a little bit more adventurous. I'm actually going to cook something. I'm going to do a salmon fillet, which is going to have some asparagus and some parsley sauce and some nice sautéed or small mini roast potatoes. The Widow's Kitchen is all about how to do things as well as just eating. And I'm going to try and take you through step by step. And the first thing I'm going to do is parboil the small potatoes. These are sort of new potatoes. You can get them from any supermarket. They're about this size. You can just boil them if you like, or you can do what I've done, which is split them into sort of smaller half the size of these. So the first thing we've got to do is actually put these on to parboil. So those are going to parboil there for probably 10 minutes. The oven is on, and it's going to preheat, and I'm going to put them into the oven once they have finished. In the meantime, we will make a white sauce, which will be the base for the parsley sauce. There's an easy way of doing things, and there's a more difficult way. I prefer easy. When it comes to making a sauce, you need to try and get them all to mix together evenly. So the secret is to have 50-50 butter and flour. And in this case, I'm going to put 40 grams of butter in a pan to melt, and I shall then add 40 grams of plain flour into the pan and mix. So that will make a nice thick roux, to which will be the milk. And the secret of this is that rather than putting cold milk in, you put warm milk in. And I've got about half a pint or 300 ml of milk in that. You don't want it to boil, it just needs to be warm. When applied to the butter and flour mix, it mixes that much more. Milk going, parboiled going. We're now going to add the butter to the pan. Butter comes in packs like this. That is about 20 grams. So double that for 40 grams. Digital scale is always a good thing to have in the house. I'm going to put 40 grams of flour into the mixing bowl. 25. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfectly exactly the same, but you get the idea. So that is going to heat up and melt in the pan. Once it's melted, let that melt gently in the pan, and once it has melted down, we can apply the flour. Whilst that is melting down, we can just take a look at the parsley. Now the parsley comes with the stalks on. We don't really want the stalks. So the butter is, turn the heat down and add the flour. Slowly mixing in whilst you go. As I say, you want to avoid lumps. And then the flour needs to cook. Again, the secret of any sauce is to stir, stir and stir again. You do this for a minute or two. It needs to gently bubble. Those potatoes are now bubbling nicely, they're okay. Stir, stir and stir again. This is going to be a nice sauce. When you think you're ready, after 2 or 3 minutes of stirring, the warmed milk we're going to add a little at a time off the heat. If you apply it on the heat, there's a risk of it going lumpy, so a little at a time. Now then, some people talk about bits of this and bits of that. In my life, liquid comes in drops. So we put a drop of this in. We don't put a bit in, we put a drop in. Stirring off the heat. But this goes on for some time. This might take 5 or 6 or 7 minutes. If you let it sit under heat or on the heat, it will go lumpy and you'll be frustrated. At the moment, it's just liquid. We now need it to thicken, which takes some time. We have to be patient. So now we're getting to the point where this sauce is just beginning to thicken. A wooden spoon is probably the preferable utensil to use for stirring sauces, actually. You use it to determine when the sauce is ready. You can see now that it's thickening up. You can see the bottom of the pan when I swirl it. So the way you test to see and it happens quite quickly now, is to see whether or not it sticks to the back of the spoon, and you can make a line in the sauce. So that is now pretty much ready. It's a basic white sauce and is the base for many sauces. It's one of the basic sauces, sometimes known as bechamel sauce. So we'll turn that off. Now moving to the potatoes, these have parboiled nicely and I'm going to drain them. So just let those dry for a few minutes. I happen to use olive oil, but you can use vegetable oil. You can use any oil you like, frankly, but Don't use butter, not at this stage because it can't take the heat. I didn't salt them when they were boiling. I should have done really, but I'm going to do that now. Just a little salt. About a tablespoon, that's all. That's all you need. Because they've been in the pan, you can get hold of the pan and give them a good swizzle in the pan. So they're not swimming in oil, but they are fully coated and seasoned. And now you can apply any other seasoning in here as well at the same time. I like to put some little rosemary possibly. Because we're doing a fish dish, dill would be good. Having thought of dill second, the rosemary's gone in. So now they're now ready to go into the roasting dish. This is called parchment paper. It's not greaseproof paper, it's parchment. You can't seem to get it from most supermarkets. Parchment goes there. The secret about parchment, it saves on washing up. It stops whatever you're cooking sticking to the bottom of the tray, and I use a lot of it. So those go on there. Just give them a swizzle around, maybe a little more salt, in it goes. I started them off at 170. I'm actually going to, they are effectively cooked, so 180 degrees will be fine. Those will take about half an hour to do in there to crisp up nicely and have a nice colour to them. So we're going to go back to our sauce, give it another stir. That's looking really nice already, isn't it? We're going to take the heads off this parsley. We don't want the stalks. Use the stalks in other dishes, but for parsley sauce, we just want the heads. We probably don't need it all. I'm going to use about half of it. So now we're going to just roughly cut this up. Because we as widowers don't use a blunt knife, not for cooking. Blunt knives are dangerous. Sharp knives are safe in the right hands. And you'll see that there are various parts to this knife. And there's the toe and then there's the heel. And when you're cutting up such as parsley, you use the heel of the knife and you rock forward. The other thing is, don't leave your fingers on show. Buckle them under so it's your knuckles that are showing, and then go away like that. That's all you have to do. Those are now cut as they need to be, and in they go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your parsley sauce. Remember, seasoning is important. Salt brings out the flavors. Pepper in there as well. That can just stay on a low heat just to keep it going. And just take the opportunity of doing some tidying up. The potatoes are doing in there. We'll just start to think about what we're going to do with the fish before we do it. The ingredients that I've chosen today are 2 pieces of salmon with the skin on, and some asparagus tips. I will actually just take the bottom of the asparagus tips off because they tend to be a bit woody, and you don't want anything which is hard on the mushes when you're having fish. There we are. They're looking good. Just put them back in. I think the oven can turn off actually. And what I'm going to do now as well, plates. If there's one thing I do not like, it's eating hot food off a cold plate. The asparagus can be done in a number of ways. I'm just going to cut the bottom ½ inch off. And today I'm actually going to cook these on a griddle pan. You can steam these, you can do them in butter, you can roast them. There are any number of different ways you can do it. A griddle pan's great because it'll have even temperature throughout the pan, especially if it's an iron pan like this, so they'll be evenly cooked. They will take a few minutes, but nevertheless it shouldn't be any longer than the fish. When it comes to fish, you tend to cook fish with the skin down. You see, it's been bought with the skin. Again, the idea is to get the skin crispy. If there's one thing that crispiness and skins don't go together, it's moisture. So we've got to get rid of the moisture. Just take the fish out and just give it a gentle, you can see how much moisture there is there. And then remember, of course, to wash your hands again. There's some action going on with this asparagus. Just got to turn them a little bit. You don't want them to burn. They will be al dente. And for those of you who don't speak Italian, that means just a little bit on the firm side. So here we go with the salmon, reasonably high, not too high. But now there are some who say you shouldn't put the fat into the pan. You should put the fat or the oil onto the meat or the fish. That is to some extent true. I've just chosen to put it into the pan first. In it goes. That will cook pretty much completely without turning. But what you can do is whilst they are cooking, make sure that they get pressed down into the pan. Just leave them to do their thing, and the skin itself will protect the main flesh of the skin. When you've just about finished, you then flip them over and give them a bit of colour on the top. The parsley sauce doesn't need any more milk. It's nice and thick. If you wanted to let it down a bit more, you could. This asparagus is doing nicely, and you can see that it's getting some colour. You can see that the striations on the back, the striations of the griddle pan, that's attractive in itself. Like in all things, patience is a virtue. If you rush it, then the chances are you'll spoil it, so don't try to rush it. Again, one of the beautiful things about cooking, as opposed to baking, and I make the distinction, baking, you have to follow the instructions. Cooking, to some extent, you can make it up as you go along, and it doesn't matter under our circumstances if you make mistakes. You're only cooking for yourself or a couple of pals possibly, or a member of the family, and you can always do it again. It's a learning process. Don't be afraid of failure. Failure is good. We learn from failure, don't we? You can see there that heat is going through the fish. These aren't long off being turned. I think we'll just give it a bit more colour on the other side as well. You really don't need much fat in the pan because the fat releases from the fish into the pan in the same way that fat releases from meat into the pan. There we go, at least it's nicely charred where it needs to be. I think we'll turn that off. That, I think, is about there. We'll think of it in terms of plating up now. Off the heat. On nice warm plates. Nice little sautéed potatoes. Looking good. My mouth is watering. Of course, the test now is to try it, isn't it? The fish breaks up nicely. See, the fish is cooked through. Yeah. Perfect. That really is perfect. Yeah. Again, perfectly done. They're just still al dente. The texture is wonderful. And there we have it. Bon appetit.